The world is watching the Middle East with great concern. For many years, a shadow war has been fought between Iran and Israel. They have competed for power and influence, often through other groups in the region. But in June of 2025, this long-simmering conflict burst into open flame. This recent escalation is not just a local problem, it has the potential to affect everyone on the planet by disrupting trade, raising energy prices, and pulling in other powerful nations. The events of the past few weeks have moved these two powerful adversaries from the shadows into a direct and dangerous military confrontation, making the situation more critical than ever before. The trigger for this new dangerous phase was a series of Israeli airstrikes. According to reports, Israel launched a major military operation over 12 days in June. The primary targets were said to be Iranian nuclear and missile facilities. Israel and its allies, including the United States, which joined in a brief but fierce attack, stated that Iran was secretly moving closer to building a nuclear weapon. This accusation, which Iran denies, was the justification for the preemptive strikes. The goal was to set back Iran's nuclear program significantly. However, the full extent of the damage remains unclear, leaving a tense and uncertain atmosphere hanging over the entire region. Iran did not hesitate to strike back. In a swift and forceful response, the Iranian military launched its own missile attacks. These were aimed at what it described as Israeli military targets. This direct state-to-state retaliation marked a significant departure from the usual proxy warfare. Iran also issued stern warnings, promising that any further aggression would lead to much broader consequences across the Middle East. This exchange of fire, directly between the two nations, brought them closer to an all-out war than at any point in recent history. A fragile ceasefire was reached in early July, but the peace feels temporary and could shatter at any moment. The immediate aftermath has left many questions unanswered. While the Israeli Air Force reported a successful operation without losing any aircraft, experts are debating how much Iran's nuclear program was actually damaged. Many believe the program was not destroyed, only delayed. This could mean that Iran will now be even more determined to rebuild its capabilities, perhaps with a renewed focus on developing a nuclear weapon for its own defense. The conflict has also shaken the political landscape inside Iran, where discussions about who will succeed the aging supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, have become more urgent than ever, adding another layer of instability to an already volatile situation. The conflict did not stay contained between Iran and Israel. It quickly spread to one of the world's most important waterways, the Red Sea. Following the direct military exchange, Iran-backed Houthi rebels based in Yemen resumed their attacks on commercial ships. This is a tactic they have used before, but the renewed campaign is directly linked to the larger confrontation. The Houthis, armed and supported by Iran, are using drones and missiles to create chaos in this critical maritime corridor. Their actions are a clear message from Iran and its allies that they can inflict pain not just on Israel, but on the entire global economy, turning a regional fight into a worldwide problem. The Red Sea is not just any body of water, it is a vital artery for international trade. About 12% of all global trade passes through this narrow channel, which connects to the Mediterranean Sea via the Suez Canal. This route is the shortest and fastest way to move goods between Asia and Europe. It is especially important for the transport of oil and natural gas. When ships are attacked here, the consequences are felt far and wide. The Houthi attacks are specifically targeting vessels they claim have links to Israel or its Western allies. But the risk has made the entire area dangerous for all international shipping. This threat to global commerce has forced other nations to act. The United States Navy has increased its presence in the region, working to shoot down incoming missiles and drones. They are not alone. Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates, two major Arab powers who are also wary of Iran's influence, have also deployed their naval forces to help protect the shipping lanes. These nations understand that if the Red Sea becomes too dangerous, the economic fallout would be catastrophic for them as well. This has created a tense maritime standoff, with warships from multiple countries patrolling the same waters where commercial vessels are trying to navigate safely. The economic risks are enormous and growing every day. If the attacks continue or get worse, shipping companies may decide to avoid the Red Sea and the Suez Canal altogether. This would force them to take a much longer and more expensive route around the southern tip of Africa. Such a change would cause massive delays in supply chains for everything from cars and electronics to food and medicine. More critically, it would disrupt the flow of oil and gas, leading to a sharp spike in fuel prices around the world. For ordinary people everywhere, this could mean higher prices at the gas pump and for everyday goods, demonstrating how a distant conflict can directly impact their lives. Understanding this crisis requires looking at the many different countries and groups involved, each with its own goals and fears. At the center are Israel and Iran, the main adversaries. Israel launched the initial strikes to counter what it sees as an existential threat from a nuclear-armed Iran. It remains on high alert, even while still engaged in a separate conflict in Gaza. On the other side, Iran has retaliated to show its strength and deter further attacks. It relies heavily on a network of proxy forces or allied armed groups across the region to extend its reach and challenge its enemies without always having to engage in direct state-to-state warfare. A key player in this network is the Houthi movement in Yemen. This group, officially known as Ansar Allah, controls a large part of Yemen, including its Red Sea coastline. With significant support and weaponry from Iran, the Houthis have become a major disruptive force. Their attacks on shipping are a way for Iran to apply pressure on Israel and the West at a low cost to itself. Another powerful Iranian ally is Hezbollah in Lebanon. Hezbollah is a heavily armed and well-trained militia that sits on Israel's northern border. The group has threatened to join the fighting, which would open a devastating new front and dramatically escalate the war. The United States is deeply involved, primarily as Israel's most powerful ally. The US not only participated in the initial attacks on Iran, but is also leading the international effort to protect shipping in the Red Sea. Its naval presence is a critical shield against Houthi attacks. Meanwhile, major Arab powers like Saudi Arabia and the UAE are trying to navigate a difficult path. While they are rivals of Iran and are concerned about the Houthi threat, they are also trying to avoid being dragged into a wider war that could destabilize their own economies. Their participation in securing the Red Sea shows they are willing to act to protect their interests, but cautiously. International bodies like the United Nations are trying to calm the situation down. The UN Security Council has held emergency meetings calling for de-escalation and a return to diplomacy. However, these calls have so far been unable to stop the violence. The deep divisions between world powers often make it difficult for the UN to take decisive action. With so many actors involved, each with competing interests, the situation is like a complex web. A wrong move by any one of them could cause the entire structure to collapse into a much larger and more destructive conflict. The fragile ceasefire that took hold in early July is being tested every day. As of today, July 13, 2025, tensions remain dangerously high, and the world is holding its breath, worried about what might happen next. The biggest fear is that the current crisis could explode into a full-scale regional war. This would be a disaster, likely drawing in not just Iran and Israel but also Hezbollah in Lebanon, various militias in Syria and Iraq, and potentially other countries. Such a war would cause immense human suffering and create a massive refugee crisis, destabilizing the entire Middle East for a generation. If the situation does not calm down, several dangerous paths could be taken. One possibility is that Israel might decide the June airstrikes were not enough and launch another, even larger attack on Iran's nuclear facilities or its leadership. Any such move would almost certainly be seen by Iran as an act of all-out war, triggering massive retaliation. Similarly, if a Houthi missile or drone were to cause a major disaster, such as sinking a warship or an oil tanker, the United States and its allies might feel forced to launch a major military operation inside Yemen. This would expand the conflict and risk an even wider confrontation with Iran. The involvement of other global powers is another serious risk. Russia and China have complex relationships with Iran and might see the conflict as an opportunity to challenge US influence in the region. While they would likely not join the fighting directly, their political and military support for Iran could embolden Tehran and make a diplomatic solution much harder to achieve. The potential for miscalculation is extremely high. With so many military forces operating in close proximity in the air and at sea, a simple accident or a misunderstanding could quickly spiral out of control into open warfare between major powers. Ultimately, the path forward is fraught with peril. If diplomacy fails and the violence continues, The world faces the prospect of severe economic shocks from disrupted oil supplies and broken supply chains. The immediate priority for the international community is to strengthen the ceasefire and get all sides to step back from the brink. The alternative is a devastating conflict that would have no real winners, only losers. The current crisis is a stark reminder that the long-standing tensions between Iran and Israel are not a distant problem, but a global threat that affects the security and prosperity of us all.